Hey everybody, so we wanted to hop on. I know it's kind of late, but we wanted to hop on and update everybody about how Wake Forest went today. So we're actually still in Greensboro. We're getting ready to head back. And we talked to the kindest doctor down here. He was really great. Unfortunately, the news wasn't. So baby is still doing well, healthy heartbeat. Looking perfectly fine in there, but the second pregnancy is definitely still causing issues, and he agreed with the original doctor's, sorry, I'm doing this in the car so the phone's moving. He agreed with our original maternal fetal specialist opinion that the safest option is going to be termination. We talked through the risk of keeping the pregnancy, and we got some statistics on that. He actually shared the story. They've had one other case of this at Wake Forest, and he told us about how that case went, and unfortunately it did not end well for mom or baby. Mom is recovered after multiple rounds of chemo. The baby passed away, but he told us that it is our choice. With all of the risk involved, we can still choose to attempt to keep this pregnancy. He did not sugarcoat anything with us today, which is exactly what we needed. We needed to know what that looked like. He didn't sugarcoat anything. He laid it all out. And so now we can make an informed decision. So I know many of you are praying and would love to know exactly how to pray. If we terminate, we would still need to test for cancer for the next 6 months to a year. It would initially be weekly, and then it would go to monthly, and we would have to wait to even attempt to get pregnant again. If we decide to attempt to keep the baby, we would be looking at the risk of preeclampsia. He also told us today that some of the things that can come along with that, with Molar pregnancies, are seizures, clotting disorders. I'm trying to think of other things. There's a bunch of information, hemorrhaging, along with hyperthyroidism. So they actually went ahead and tested me for that today. They also went ahead and tested my numbers to start my cancer tracking, to get an idea of where we're at and if there's any indication that that might already be a thing. He said that Molar pregnancies are considered to be pre-malignant, which pretty much means that it's cancer in waiting until it becomes cancer. And my risk of getting a metastasizing cancer is 30 to 50%, depending on what you read. There's not a whole lot out there to read, but pretty good chance of getting metastasizing cancer. And the type of cancer that it is spreads very, very quickly. He said most often with Molar pregnancies, what they have seen in the limited amount of research they have is it metastasizes to the lungs. The good news in this is because it does spread so quickly, it's the kind of cancer that is really receptive to chemotherapy. So chemo doesn't always cure, it's not always the fix, but majority of the time it does. And so even if we are looking at cancer, whether it spreads to my lungs or a different part of my body, it would likely be treatable, and that's really good news. But it's still cancer, and that's really bad news. We ask about surgeries, and unfortunately there are no surgeries available because most surgeries would go in and take out the placenta that is growing the bad stuff, and try to save the baby. But they actually need to go in and remove all of the tissue around it as well, because of the risk for cancer. So it wasn't a whole lot of good news today. Actually, it was no good news. They did go ahead and run my blood markers to see if they're seeing any signs of possible cancer already, along with running for hyperthyroidism today. And so now we wait on those results. The big thing that we did learn is next steps. Excuse me. So if we choose to proceed and try to keep the baby as long as possible, we would have to have weekly appointments with maternal fetal specialist and with a gynecological oncologist. I got it right that time. A gynecological oncologist every week. We'd have to have labs every week. We'd have to have regular ultrasounds along with regular visits to my OB. So minimum of 2 to 3 appointments every week plus labs, which is a big time commitment, but you know, it's worth it for a baby, of course. But it would be a big commitment for our family. And I would have to go to majority of those alone because Thomas's work schedule is not going to be able to accommodate that. Anyway, that's really the update from today. Is still a lot of questions, and we're still stuck with needing to make a decision. We do see my OBGYN on Tuesday. That got scheduled for Tuesday next week instead of Wednesday. And I talked to her today. She was so kind and called me and checked on me after my appointment. And she is getting my referrals in to the oncologist. She is supportive no matter what we choose. And we're really thankful for a medical team that is standing behind us and willing to help us with whatever we decide. That's an incredible blessing. And we are so incredibly thankful for our support system. We have just been blown away by the support of family and friends and strangers. And we're really thankful. And so thank you for all of your prayers and your kind messages and thoughts. Thank you for the extra love many of you have shown to our boys, and to Thomas, and to myself and our parents and so many others that are also grieving what this pregnancy, quote unquote, should have been. There's a lot of loss associated for all of us, no matter how this turns out. And so we really just appreciate the support and the love and the kindness. And we'll keep you posted on how Tuesday goes and on how next steps go. In the meantime, appreciate prayers for safety for me, and for the baby for now. Not for now, but for the baby as well, until God sees fit to take the baby home, or whatever happens next. But we just appreciate prayers for health and safety, that if symptoms do start, that we would recognize it quickly. One of the issues with being a chronic illness patient is that I don't always recognize when a symptom is urgent, which I know sounds stupid, but I've had chest pain for years, and it's never been a heart attack. But that might sound silly, but that's a risk that we run too because of my medical history. Is not necessarily they think that we will know, but we need to know quickly, and we need to make a decision swiftly when it does happen. And so we appreciate your prayers just for guidance on that and wisdom. And we're just thankful. I think that's really, we're doing our best to glorify God through all of this, and to honor him and what he wants us to do with this sweet baby's life. He gave us this baby. This is a gift from him, and we're going to thank him for whatever days we get with our sweet koala. Thank you again. We love you guys.